Hello everybody, my name's Casey Young. I work here in the Southern DHB in Dunedin, and today for Glaucoma NZ we'll be giving you a talk on glaucoma and driving. So Glaucoma NZ is a charitable trust, and our aim and our hope is to eliminate blindness from glaucoma. Glaucoma NZ aims to eliminate blindness from glaucoma through various ways. First of all is providing information and education for people with glaucoma, promoting awareness of glaucoma, that's via GPs, optometrists, even your family or friends, professional education for our colleagues here in the hospital system and also in the private sector, and finally supporting research into glaucoma in New Zealand. Why do we bother? Glaucoma is the leading cause of preventable blindness. It is estimated that approximately 50% of patients with glaucoma don't actually realize they have it. And I will explain a little bit later on why that might be so. Definitely detecting glaucoma early and therefore starting to treat it can prevent irreversible sight loss. We know that in the great majority of patients who comply and accept the treatments that we suggest or advise will not go blind from glaucoma. So today, as I was saying before, we are going to talk about glaucoma and driving. So very briefly, glaucoma affects the peripheral vision, all right? It steals the peripheral vision. So you might have someone with a normal vision. So this is a picture of a tree. And when you have moderate glaucoma, you start to have loss of the peripheral visual field. So it's the stuff around the center of vision. So what you're looking at is the central vision, and you get loss of the peripheral vision until it gets severe, where you have essentially tunnel vision. How does this work? You have your optic nerve, which is basically the cable of the camera, which is your eye. And the camera, the optic nerve, sends the signals through to the brain, which is in this picture here, is symbolized by the computer, all right? So glaucoma is where the optic nerve, which is this telephone cable, if you think of it like that, made of a million nerve fibers, is gradually damaged from glaucoma. So once again, a normal visual field, and when you have glaucoma damage, you start to lose the peripheral field. So glaucoma, the characteristic damage that we see is damage to the optic nerve, where you lose some of those nerve fibers and the optic nerve gets cupped. That's the word we use for glaucoma. So therefore, if you look here at the picture of the left eye, you can see the optic nerve, and the optic nerve has a nice rim. There's this orangey tissue around it. And the cup is the central palar area where the nerve fiber layers just don't quite cover the optic disc. And on the right-hand side, this side over here, so the left picture as you're looking at it, it shows that you have very little orange tissue or nerve fiber in the surrounding optic disc. So that's advanced severe glaucoma. Raised intraocular pressure is typically the thing that is the main risk factor for people with glaucoma, but it's not always present. We have some people with normal eye pressures. Certainly the way that we treat it is by lowering the eye pressure, whatever it is, and this helps to reduce the risk of further loss of vision. Okay, now the LTSA, the rules with respect to driving and visual fields, state that there should be no significant pathological field defect in the binocular field, so that means using both eyes at the same time, that encroaches within 20 degrees of fixation, either above or below the horizontal meridian. Okay, so therefore, we're talking about the central vision, and that there must not be a defect within that central 20 degrees. Unfortunately, glaucoma has the potential to cause these visual field defects. Now, how do we test the visual fields? Usually, the most common way is using a visual screening instrument of a design that's been approved by the transport agency. So there are many of these machines, and if you do have glaucoma, you have probably sat before in front of one of these automated perimeters. We can also test you to confrontation. That is a very old-fashioned way where we just, have a little object and we bring it into the field of vision and you report to us whether you see it or not. Manual perimetry is similar to the automated computerized visual field test in the sense that you still sit in a same bowl-shaped object, but the little target is actually operated by someone who's sitting on the other side of the screen, able to watch, making sure that you're doing the test well. An automated computerized testing system usually has a way of detecting whether you're looking around or whether you're staying nice and still. So this is a normal visual field test. All right, so you can see here that that there's no defect, and but the little black spot that you can see on the fields that you are shown is the blind spot, which is a natural area where we can't see. It correlates to being at the site of the optic nerve. Okay, there are no light receptors there, so you can't actually see anything in the blind spot. When someone has a bit of glaucoma or starting to have glaucoma damage, then you start to have these visual field defects. Now, if you're able to look really closely at the screen, you'll see that there is a little number to the right-hand side of the shaded picture on the top right of each printout, and it says 30 degrees. So that's actually at 30 degrees of vision. So you can see here that for the left eye, the picture, the printout on our left-hand side, the person actually has a visual field defect within that central 20 degrees of vision. Okay, and it's more pronounced on the right-hand side, but it actually extends a little bit further to the periphery. And then someone with moderate glaucoma, now you're starting to see a lot more areas of darkness. And finally, someone with advanced visual field loss. So this is the same person, and it's the same left eye, except that the printout on the left shows the normal 30 degrees field of vision, whereas the printout on the right-hand side actually shows the central 10 degrees. So if you might be able to see that the number on the left-hand printout is 30, and the number on the right-hand printout is 10. So it's really examining just that central vision. If you've got visual field loss this bad, chances are you probably won't be able to have a driver's license because your visual field is severely restricted. But how does this relate to driving in real life? When I show you those visual field tests, it seems logical that you would probably see these black spaces or patches in your vision. But because we use both eyes in normal day-to-day life, the gaps of vision in one eye is usually filled up, hopefully, by the normal areas of vision in the other eye. So this is a visual field test of a patient of mine with glaucoma. Now, they do have bilateral upper visual field defects. However, when we get them to do a binocular field test, you can see that it looks almost absolutely fine, but there are a couple of patches here, once again, within that central 20 degrees that the LTSA dictates as being not easily eligible for a driver's license. But why don't you see these areas, these black areas in day-to-day life? If you were to look at the visual field test that I showed you before, we assume that if you're looking at a real-life thing with one eye, that you would have this black spot. But that's not what most of my patients have ever described. So this is, once again, is just a pictorial representation of what we might expect to see. So if you've got a normal visual field test there on the left, and then if you have glaucoma, maybe this is what most people might expect, that you've got these patches of black vision. But this is probably what someone with glaucoma actually sees. What they actually see is perhaps blurred patches where you can still see something there, or your brain can still see something there, but it's not terribly clear. Or another situation, this is very subtle, but you can see that where the red car is, you can see that in the normal visual field, there's a window. But in the glaucoma field, it actually looks like a brick wall with a little bit of a sign just to the side there. So it's almost as if the brain has filled in the gap. It's sort of decided to do something funny. So why does the brain do this by filling in these gaps? The easiest way to illustrate this phenomenon is with an optical illusion that actually attracted me to ophthalmology or the visual sciences as a child. So the physiology, why is it that we have this blind spot? As I was saying earlier, it's because the optic nerve, the optic disc, does not have any photoreceptors. So it doesn't have any light sensing cells on its surface. So that is represented by those black spots just to the side of your central vision, usually between 10 to 15 degrees of your central vision. So it's on the right-hand side for your right eye, and it's on the left-hand side for your left eye. Now, the trick, if you get a blank sheet of paper, or a tablet if you're technologically inclined, you draw a horizontal line, you put a large dot on one end and a small X near the other end, like that illustration I've got you down there. The illusion, you close one eye and you stare at the dot with your left eye, or the X if you're using your right eye. What you then do is you either move the sheet of paper slowly either back or forwards, or if it's the tablet, and at a certain point, if you keep that line horizontal, you'll find that the other marker, so therefore the X if you're using your left eye, or the dot if you're using the right eye, will actually disappear, because it is now in your blind spot. But curiously, you will notice that the line appears continuous. Even though you know you can't see that other little mark, you won't be able to see that there's a gap. The line is filled in by your brain. So that means our visual system fills in this missing space. So glaucoma visual field defects are typically not noticed by patients in day-to-day life. So as I was saying before, Glaucoma NZ strives to help patients with glaucoma, but we also hope to improve knowledge and enhance detection of glaucoma through education of the wider public. Thank you.